Welcome back, everyone, to the Unlocked podcast. I'm trying my best Tony impersonation here.
You have to keep it real low.
Everyone is ready to have a good time with the Unlocked podcast.
And with intros like that, it really sucks the audience in.
It does. Yeah. That is the key. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Unlocked podcast. Today, I am your host. You're welcome from... How was that one better?
That was great.
From Canada.
Yeah.
My name is Lars Johnson.
I'm Tony Hokinson.
And I'm Chad Lingefeld. And we are in studio all together. So we have...
The big CLT.
The big CLT. We are right here. And this is...
DLC, visit CLT.
Look at this.
Your alliterations are amazing.
Uh-huh.
We are somewhat official. We have fantastic branded gear.
We're totally grown-ups now.
Yes.
We have a...
TV
with a logo on it.
Yeah, that's big.
And we even have some nice shirts here.
Tony, you're not... That took us 10 seconds for Tony not to speak into the microphone.
Yeah, well, look at that.
We do.
We've got merch.
We got swag.
It's... Now, does anybody want to get the merch? Is the problem? Uh-oh. So you have your nice blue. You need to describe this for the folks that are just listening.
Again, this is a podcast.
Yeah.
So when you hold up a shirt, it turns out...
Well, that's what you're here for.
It turns out no one can see this.
Yeah, so we got a nice blue shirt with a yellow unlocked logo.
And it's practically matches the same color as the logo.
Yes.
Yep.
Nothing.
And then a nice white shirt with a bigger yellow logo. And we got this in short sleeve and long sleeve.
Oh,
okay. So for us cold people up in Minnesota and Calgary, we can stay warm.
That's
very nice.
Yeah. The only thing we're missing really is the content.
Yeah.
You know, like we got the swag. We're on brand here. It just, it's just the content that we're missing today. Speaking of which, hold on. I was supposed to be doing an intro here.
Oh, yeah.
Aren't we supposed to talk about, the Unlock podcast, blah, blah, blah. Find us on whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You'll do that at the end.
Very defined.
You're welcome. Today, terrible topic Tony has decided today we're going to describe and discuss the terrible topic of a security specialist versus a generalist.
Yes, that is correct.
Do you want to explain what you are trying to talk about here?
Yeah.
I love the great title, and then it's, okay, now the subtitle is, Tony, can you tell us what we're supposed to talk about?
What exactly are you talking about here? The security specialist. Hold on, this could be the cut. Welcome to the Unlock podcast, where today we are discussing the security specialist versus generalist. Which one will win?
That was great.
How was that?
That was wonderful.
Exciting.
How was that? Thanks, guys.
So security specialist versus security generalist. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of times in the locksmith industry, you see people trying to do everything and anything they can. Mm-hmm. It's a very, I've used this word before, but fragmented industry. And I think a lot of times people are trying to chase revenue.
That's a great original word there.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't think of anything else in the spot, so I just had to go with it before.
Uh-huh. The jack of all trades.
Yes. So locksmiths, typically, they're trying to do a lot of different things, and a lot of times that leads towards not focusing. There's a lot of books out there about focusing. Pumpkin Plan's a great one about really owning your niche, owning your customer, owning the products you're selling, and really focusing and then growing after that. So there's advantages and disadvantages to both methods. I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit.
So basically, do you like to go to the Cheesecake Factory, or do you like to go get a real quality piece of food from a restaurant that knows how to cook it?
And what are you trying to be? Are you trying to be the Cheesecake Factory? The Cheesecake Factory is obviously a successful business. They do well at generalization.
Yeah.
It maybe is not as good of quality food, but I think they make money.
So you're telling me the Cheesecake Factory is the generalist?
The Cheesecake Factory. Yeah. Do you have those in Alberta?
Have you been to the Cheesecake Factory?
First of all, no. Second of all, no. Two things, Jeff.
It is basically.
So they name it the Cheesecake Factory and sell other stuff.
So hold on.
I don't even think they have cheesecake.
Which this is a great part of the conversation.
Don't have cheesecake.
Oh, they do have cheesecake. They have a ton of cheesecakes. But you would think that the Cheesecake Factory, the primary reason that you would
go there for cheesecake.
All right. And you would maybe think that it's just a bakery or a dessert restaurant.
Or a cheesecake store.
They have a menu that is 15 pages. They have everything from pasta to burgers to pizza to steak to chicken.
That would be the burger factory or the seafood factory.
everything.
The Cheesecake Factory has
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then they have a whole menu of cheesecakes, which are, they've got 30 different, 40, 50 different flavors of cheesecakes. The point of it is the food is nasty.
Huh.
Because they can't you can't have a restaurant that does really good pasta and really good seafood and really good
Mexican
steak
food
and
and-
Mexican food and cheesecake
Yeah.
all in the same place.
Right.
They're a generalist.
Oh,
But
so they're generally just bad at everything. Except the cheesecake, I
From
would
my
imagine, is
experience,
probably
The
good.
cheesecake is good. It's now there's a whole nother conversation there about cheesecake. If you're a cheesecake aficionado, you're not going to the Cheesecake Factory. You're going, if you want a New York style cheesecake, you're going to go to a bakery that specializes in that.
In New York?
Sure.
Okay.
Or somebody that knows how to make it from like they do in New York. But the Cheesecake Factory makes a variety. They've got the Oreo cheesecake and all these different mixes and blends. So it's kind of,
This is mind-blowing.
I'm mind blown
We're
that you've
talking
never
about-
been to the
I've
Cheesecake
actually
Factory.
never been either. We have them, but I
We're talking
have
about
never been.
generalists, and the name is literally the
The
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake Factory.
That
Yes.
is our definition
But,
of
okay.
a generalist.
Well, but if you think about it in our industry, so if we turn the page real fast, we're locksmiths.
Thankfully.
But
Yeah.
what do we do?
Yeah.
We are somewhat of a generalist.
What
The nature
what
of the
percentage
industry.
of your company is actually working on locks
There
at
you
any
go.
given time?
Yeah.
As a locksmith.
Because
I
what's-
bet you it's what, 10%?
Yeah.
Maybe 15?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is an interesting comparison. I feel like if you're looking at it from those terms, because and the reason I bring the Cheesecake Factory up is when we're in our own world. Like if you were to have this conversation in the Cheesecake Factory or the restaurant world, they would be like, "Nah, it doesn't correlate. For us, living in the world of locksmith and security, then we think that's the normal thing is to just do everything. I mean, because a locksmith is the old blacksmith trade, and so it's just, what do you want me to do? I'll figure out how to make it work.
Right. That's the smith part of
Yeah.
locksmithing. That's fair. And I know, we've obviously been exposed to probably the same handful of people, but we keep talking about security,
Yeah.
right? Because that's kind of been the mantra. I know Os Obloys really pushed that mantra as security professionals, especially with their new acronyms. The AAASSSPP is is the security professional part.
I feel confident that that's not what the acronym is, but
That was my stutter.
you just keep adding letters
Yeah, something like that.
at some point in time.
But yeah, the idea of a security personnel, security professional versus a locksmith,
Yeah.
right? And that's because I often explain to people, it turns out most locks are actually on doors, and we spend more time on doors than we do actually on locks.
True.
But then if you ask any of the general public, what does a locksmith do? They will not mention doors whatsoever.
Well,
oh, you guys work on doors?
I think the general consensus and that's why I always try to add locksmith and security, because I think the general consensus that a locksmith works on. If you talk to the general public, they work on cars.
Right.
Open my car when I get
yes.
locked
Yeah,
out.
when I
make
get
me
locked
cars,
out.
keys, all those types of things.
Got a key when I need it.
Correct.
Every 26 years when I.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that's the general term. If you were to if you get way outside of our industry and you just say to somebody, they say, "What do you do?" "Oh, I have a locksmith company." And they say, "Oh, awesome. Can you give me your number in case I get locked out of my car?" From a actual security solution, can you come in and consult with me on how to secure my facility better, or what is the best hardware for this particular application? Does this meet code? That's not the identifier.
That's
that
not a
people have.
locksmith.
Correct.
Like,
From a general public perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think what it ultimately lends to, from a generalist versus a specialist, is when we become generalized, it's whatever anybody asks us to do, we're typically willing to raise our hands and do that. I think the question I would pose back on generalist versus specialist is, can you, in this trade and in this industry, start as a specialist and stick with it and actually scale and grow? Or do you have to be a generalist to start with to gain presence and then narrow down your...
I bet you $100 Tony's about to say it depends, but go ahead.
I don't think I was.
Oh,
Okay.
Great.
But now I'm
$100.
definitely not going to. So, ooh.
Without saying it depends. Go ahead.
No, I actually just completely lost my train of
Yeah,
thought.
well,
So there's
I had something good, and then you.
It was great. It
yeah,
was
it
amazing.
great.
sounds like it was
Top
great.
quality.
But let's use our businesses.
Yeah.
Just as the example. Okay, so our business is more of a generalist business. My business, we do general locksmithing. So that means we do, your standard rekeys. Yeah, we do open ups, which is, under 1% of our business. A lot of door work, alignments. We do, automatic openings. We do, virtually everything. The opposite, I look at a guy like Alan. So Alan Ponte with Phil and sons and daughter and grandsons and whatever it is, something like that. Better known as the Machine, in fact.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Ponte Corporation.
Yes. Yes. But Al, Al is the one that will stand up there. In fact, he did last year in Texas, stood up there and said, this is the platform.
Yeah.
This is what we sell.
Yeah.
If you do, hey, that sounds great. Can you do this too?
Correct.
The answer is
No.
no.
But the question is, they started in business by being a
Right.
generalist,
Right.
and at a point he said, "Meh, trim it down and go." So that was my question: is can you build a startup as a specialist in our industry?
So I'd say the easier thing to do is start up as a generalist, but I don't think that's necessarily the best thing to do, because the more you start as a generalist, the easier it is going to be to get revenue, the easier it is going to be to support yourself and grow. But then all of a sudden you get to a point where you're used to being a generalist, and it's harder to make that flip to being a specialist. I would say that the hardest thing to do is start as a specialist, but it is probably the better thing to do, because then once you get rolling, it's going to be easier to compound that and train and scale. So if you're trying to be everything to everybody, and then you're trying to train everybody to be everything to everybody, it's harder.
very
So it's easy.
complicated.
You can fall into that trap, and I think that's what happens with a lot of locksmiths is they fall into the trap. We did it. Like, we want to be everything to everybody because you're fearful of not having enough revenue to support your business.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're saying, hey, yes, I'll go hang that light for you because I know how to run low voltage wire. And hey, I'll go fix this car for you because I know what a lock is. And you're trying to do all these different things because you want to sustain yourself, which is logical. But then you get into that situation where you're the Cheesecake Factory and you're doing everything in a moderate capacity, as opposed to specializing in being a high quality seafood restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just reminds me of this story that, it was like a famous, in our segment of the world, but there was a company that is no longer around, but a handful of them worked with us. And, I asked, what happened over there that things went, so badly, so quickly. And one of the guys who's, a friend, he's a coworker, but he's a friend more than anything. And he starts telling me, he's like, we ended up doing this project. We're way up north in the middle of anywhere. And I was refinishing a heritage boat.
Oh.
I was like a vessel?
And
like a boat?
This is a locksmith.
This was a security locksmith company.
Oh.
And you were refinishing? He's like, yeah, it was this heritage boat, and they needed it sanded down. But it was, I don't know how this ended up happening, but he was like, there was this point where I'm on my hands and knees sanding with 1,000 grit sandpaper, refinishing this boat.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no. And he's like, yeah, that's when, I realized, I think we're a little out of scope here. Shocking. This didn't work out very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was, and it can happen because I think what you were saying, Tony, when you're getting started, what we're trying to do is put food on the table.
Yes.
Right. So, hey, can you do this? Oh, can you also change the light? Yeah. How hard could it be?
Right.
And that's our natural tendency. And I think that's probably the most obvious way to get started. But I think of now, okay, we're 13 years down the road. You guys are probably going to be similar. Now I look at it, and the one thing that, Alan talking about his platform, and the only thing they do is just the platform. It's the training. And Tony, you use the word training. It's the teaching. The wider your scope is, the more of a generalist you are, the more you have to learn, which as a proprietor, as a small business, it's not as bad because there's only a few people and you can teach them to do that. Once you get to a scale where you have 15, 20, 30 technicians in the field and you're onboarding new people virtually all the time, you look at the knowledge that they are required. I'll just use something industry specific, talk about high security systems,
Yep.
right? Like Alan sells Medico.
Yep.
That's it. We sell Medico, we have Abloy, we have Multilock, we have ASA,
Right.
we have some, Schlag systems, we have all of these different brands. And it's like, okay, so now you have to learn 10 times.
Yeah.
And our training book is, it's like, it'll take you 2 years to learn everything we do. And Alan's like, we sell these 8 products.
So what you said there is really valuable. It depends on the
Thank you, Tom.
I had
that.
to throw in the depends there too. But it depends on your goals of your business. If your goal is to scale, it is extremely hard to scale successfully if
true.
you are a
That's
generalist.
a very foul point.
That
So,
is true, Tony.
we're
You
working-
have contributed to this podcast
Oh,
today.
well, thank you. That means a lot to
That's
me.
one
that I
in a
have
row.
your appreciation.
So-
Oof, I can sleep well at night. But we're starting to work on product standards currently, and I was just Friday mapping out kind of what we want to have documented for our sales team to know what to quote from an electronic standpoint. And I was thinking about it. So we primarily focus on 2 brands for our cameras or 1 brand each for our cameras and access control. And we were mapping everything out. And if we supported 7 different brands, that list of products would be 7 times as large.
That you
And
have
all
to
of a
know
sudden,
and support and
then all
repair
of a sudden-
and
update. Like if you're building standards for your sales team, now all of a sudden, every time a brand changes their products, you're updating that all the time.
Yeah.
And it just
and pricing and databases and
Yeah, I know from experience, especially on the product side, as a company, when we were trying to grow, we were doing two things, and then we had to really make a big shift. We were installing access control, and we would install any brand that we could find and that kind of fit that particular application. And we did that over a period of about 4 years. And then we came back and said,
what a mess.
it somewhat worked if there were 2 or 3 people working on it together, because you had the ability to kind of, everybody knew what was going on. So there's not a mute button on there.
Gotcha.
Everybody kind of knew what was going on. And so if it was this particular brand, then I could handle that. If it was that brand, this person can handle that, whatever. And then when we got to a certain number of people, 8 people, 9 people, something like that, I was like, we can't keep track of all this. And now I just hired this new guy, and I've either got to isolate him to be a specialist for just this one platform, or I've got to try to teach him all the intricacies between the different systems. And that was kind of the light bulb moment for us. And so like the real practical application, we were installing a Cantech system. We had some IEI systems. We had a GE system. We had some old legacy stuff that I don't even know what it was called, and we had an additional one that were all kind of spread very thin and specific to these buildings. Well, some Roslair, all these different things, and we said, okay, we've got to get this cleaned up if we're going to continue to hire at a certain pace and be able to get people really indoctrinated into what we're selling. And that's when we made the shift to a singular brand of access control,
A platform.
yeah. And we just started slowly navigating. And
What's that platform called?
we started with Brevo.
Oh, Brevo. I've heard of them. Yeah.
Because when it was cloud at that time, it was 2006, and cloud was kind of a new thing. But the point was that we selected a really focused, specific product, and then we started training all of our employees very deep into that product.
Yeah.
And then we started to go to our customers and replace the old product with this new product and say, okay, here we go. This is where we are, and this is what we do. Well, then 10 years later, we really saw the benefits of this, because any new customer or any new customer that came on, we were putting them on that same platform. And then any new employee came on, we said, here's the training. And within 2 days, they can be knowledgeable on that platform, and we can get them out there and involved, versus here's 15 different things you've got to learn. And then you're switching gears. There's human psychology around all that too, is around switching gears and not being an expert in everything.
That's just the multitasking.
Correct.
Right. Multitasking isn't a thing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And and that's really interesting, because it sounds like we all started, I'm not necessarily going to go down this path of acquisition, but that's added a lot of challenge.
Yes,
We had
correct.
not too long ago, we just had a conversation, I don't know what episode it was, but about acquisition, organic growth.
Yeah.
One of the things I don't think we gave enough cadence to was talking about the complexity of the system integration
Yes.
of the acquisitions. Like we acquired a one-man shop. Amazing opportunity, great locksmith, great person, sold ASA.
Yeah. Which, yeah.
What I don't even know what the heck that is, but it was not to be confused with Assa Abloy, but Assa is one of the one of the brands. And now, okay, we need a machine, we need maintenance. You know, he goes on holidays. I got to find somebody else that can figure out how to do this for a couple of weeks. Like it just adds complexity, and it takes away your focus from what you're really good at.
Yeah, we've gotten to the point where if we're looking at an electronic acquisition and they're using software and systems that we're not interested in, like depends on what it is, obviously, but if it's something that we have zero interest in supporting, it's just not a good acquisition target.
Yeah.
Like I'm not interested in.
And at the very least, it drives that price way down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to that point, based off of the acquisitions that we've done, we now have 24 different high security keyways.
Where I bet you we're in that range too.
Yeah.
I bet you we have 15 medical keyways.
Oh yeah.
And then you go, now this becomes a whole different thing in managing it. And it's still within the same realm, but if you could imagine, like, just to expand that from a product standpoint, if you started doing acquisitions or you started picking up customers and this customer has this particular brand of high security, this one has this particular brand, and now all of a sudden you've got 25 different brands. You have 25 different pinning kits and 25 different
key machines. You got 25. Yeah.
And it becomes,
blanks.
So it becomes very, and at that point now you've invested this heavy level of capital into all one product, stock, machines, tools, training, all those things. Now you have, and we even see this, we have, I think, 4 or 5 different manufacturer high security keyways. And some of them, there's 2 that are probably 85% of the time.
Yeah.
And then the remaining, that 15%. And the technicians, we see it, they get they struggle so much because nobody is really an expert in those other key systems.
Those are the ones you screw up.
Those are the ones you screw up, and those are the ones that take
Constantly.
2 hours to
and you're always out of stock, and it's a mess.
And that's where you get where I see that generalization versus specialist. Really, we think, well, we're trying to serve our customers better by having access to all those things.
Right.
Or we're trying to expand our customer presence. Well, if you really dive into it, and this people that are listening to this may go, that sounds completely ridiculous because I know everything about all of these different key systems.
Right. Which they might.
But
not their whole team.
But you've got a technician that is primarily focused on servicing doors and servicing locks, and then and this particular brand key system, and then all of a sudden you say, here's this oddball, half a day, 4 hours to pin 2 cylinders, 4 cylinders. They've got to find the key system. All this. How profitable is that?
Not very.
Did you really gain anything by servicing that customer because you just burned 4 hours of time, probably 2 or 3 people trying to solve the problem? And that's where the generalization goes, that starts to become a real problem.
And part of the challenge is it's a big boost to ego when I can fix anything.
Yeah.
Right? I can do anything. And
those are unicorns.
Right.
Yes.
And if you have a company full of unicorns...
And that's totally scalable.
Probably bump into each other.
Wow.
There was something I was going to go with, but
I assume we're talking about the horn.
Yeah,
the horns running into each other.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't positive here, and
thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah,
but that's because again, to your point, it is a point of pride. Ego is great. I can do anything. I know all these key systems, but you can't replicate it.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say, so in your opinion, do you prefer specialization? I'm just clarifying for people listening.
I think everything that I've seen from a business growth perspective, once you can start trimming down into specialization, you can get really laser focused, and you can have a really high quality service in a smaller selection of offerings to a wider audience very quickly.
At this point in your career and your company's life cycle.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe if I was just getting into this again, right? I think it is very hard not to be a generalist. And I mean, there's going to be different scales, but I'm saying in general,
You were just
being
trying to not say it depends.
being a generalist is the most natural way to go. And the other thing is, being that generalist, you learn pretty quickly what you're good at and what you enjoy.
Right.
Sure.
And what the niche is, because I think a bigger mistake would be like, okay, I'm going to be an automotive Chrysler locksmith,
Yeah.
right? And that's possible, but you're going to starve long before you have an actual business.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Tony.
Well, I was having a conversation with somebody last week about this, and I made the comment that I think people that become generalists are very focused on tomorrow, right? And for some cases, good reason, right? Like you want to have food on the table.
Right.
But long term, if you specialize, you are going to, and you focus on that. And the conversation I was having was saying the right thing to do is to specialize, and you will thank me 5 years from now. But if you, and what I mean by that, if you specialize, it's harder, right? It's not the easy thing to do. You have to focus, you have to stay with it, and you have to let that build and let that scale develop. And if you don't wait because you're like, well, I need the revenue, I need to make my targets.
Yeah.
You're going to get into all sorts of different things, and then you're going to be there 5 years from now, and you're going to be going crazy.
It's more appealing to dilute your offerings for a quick
Correct.
sell
Right.
versus saying no to something because it doesn't fit that criteria. I'm tracking. Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's the hard discipline.
Right.
When you start down the path is, I would say this, over the course of the past 10 years for our business, we have said no and walked away from at least $500,000 of projects that I'm aware of. There may be more that I'm not aware of, but at least $500,000 that I'm aware of, because it did not fit the criteria that we've set. So here you can go do this. And we said, well, it's way outside of our general offering. And if we do pick that up, it might be a $150,000 project and it's so appealing. But what does 5 years from now look like when we have this one oddball system, product, project, whatever, that somebody's got to figure out how to maintain? Is this really a good decision for us? And so I can tell you that multiple times. There was a 100+ camera system that we walked away from because it didn't fit the criteria of the platform that we wanted to offer and that we were good at. And so that's, you do the math on that. It's not inexpensive, but are we better for it now?
Yeah.
You're
going to get $500,000 worth of headaches out of that in the future.
Yeah.
This made me thinking about, Tony.
You guys playing footsies over there?
Wow.
Get out of here. We were talking about food, and I thought,
you put me here in the middle, and I have to turn my entire body to look at you, so you got to move your foot out of the way.
that is a challenge.
You were thinking about food earlier?
No, well, Tony, I thought this was a good time to talk about Tony having 5 desserts yesterday. I thought that was just
the amount of food. And then at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock last night, he was like, man, I'm really full.
Yeah. And then piled in a bowl of ice cream with
But I have to have my ice cream every night.
A couple tiramisus. It was travel day yesterday.
Yeah.
So this nice little intermission here was travel day yesterday. Spent 3 hours with Tony on an airplane, which is lots.
You know what was funny? He was actually quite pleasant on the airplane. Like when he was not around you, like he was. I don't know how to take that. Actually pleasant to be with, an enjoyable flight together, and then the second he saw you, he turned into oof.
Yeah, I know. Chad's
like he was just waiting,
rotten to the core. Yeah, that's what we're getting at here.
Like you bring out the worst in him.
Exactly. So,
like he's a nice guy, you're a nice guy, but you put you guys together, and it's oof.
Well,
I don't know how to respond to that, Tony. That's kind of cruel.
Yeah, Tony, that was awfully rude of you.
Very sparky.
Yes.
Speaking the truth.
So a current thing I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's a lot of tariff talk going on in the world.
Really?
It's not crossed my mind.
You guys haven't seen this stuff, right?
That's made it up to the 51st state?
Yeah, careful. There's a bunch of Canadians that were just like, who is this punk? It's Tony Hokinson in Minnesota. Yeah. But the impact, so the major brand that we sell is Medico. Okay, it's a high security key system. Most people probably are familiar with this, but I would say over the last 10 years or so, 90% has been focused on medical. Well, with the impacts of tariffs, the pricing of that product for us, like 20% plus, 22, 23% increase, which is now, we're sitting here, okay, is this going to be short term? Do we just gut it out for a bit? Or, do we look at an alternative?
Yeah.
And this is an actual today issue, and because I know exactly, so we have an opportunity to expand into another geographical region.
That's a great point.
Based on a product that isn't our primary offering,
Yeah.
but it would be our secondary offering for sure. And now with I'm going to call it the political or economic landscape, is this a time for our company to pivot?
Yeah.
Because, this is a realistic issue we're having right now, which is...
I'm tracking with you because the theory that we just talked about, specialization, you've got just hundreds and hundreds of Medico key systems out there. Well, now the pricing, because of tariffs, make an impact. Do we now shift our company's position to which now you can't get rid of legacy?
No.
That's always going to be a thing. But do we make a strategic move, something different, which is now going to make it complex over the next period of 5 plus 10 years?
Yeah, and it's,
or do you just toe the line because...
Well, depending on the tweet, maybe this all goes away in a week.
Sure.
But... we're just kind of treading water right now. I don't know what others are doing. Maybe that's something people can comment, on social and what they're doing with it. But, I honestly don't know.
It's a fair question. But and going back to like a couple of weeks ago when we were at ISC West, that episode, we were talking about making strategic choices in the manufacturers or products that we select because you're looking at short-term versus long-term. So same thing. It really, I think, and there's a lot of correlation with even what you were talking about earlier, the generalization of being short-term or short-thinking, thinking about tomorrow versus long-term, because the position that I can say sitting here, the decisions that we made 10, 15 years ago, we're still receiving the either benefits or complications of now. And so the quick shift is to solve that problem today, but what does that look like 5, 10 years down the road is the thing that I don't think we really think about a lot, or maybe it gets overshadowed by the immediate, the tariff, the 20%, the 15%, the price.
The urgent versus the important.
Correct.
Exactly what you're describing. I think about, I'm in a couple different entrepreneurship groups. One of my good buddies is in the car dealership industry. Okay. And he has talked about his brand. Like, car dealerships are the ultimate specialization.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Well, if you're a new car dealer.
Yeah. Sorry. New car dealers. It depends. Good call, Tone. You sell the brand and that's it. So the last couple of years, he's really struggled because his manufacturer didn't have very good cars. They were too expensive. I don't know if you've tried to buy a $120,000 Jeep recently.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You imagine if your business is selling $120,000 Jeeps?
Yeah.
How do you think that's going? Right. So that's like now, if I wasn't selling only Jeeps and I was selling, now there's the Generalist, but that, he didn't really have a choice.
Sure.
So he just sat there and just sucked for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And that's turned around for him. But, that's kind of playing in the back of my mind. It's like, is this my Jeep moment where I got to start looking, should I be selling Teslas?
Yeah.
Right. So, and I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I don't know
it's not,
what to decide.
It's not a decision. It's not something that you can say. I would say the only theory that I would have is it's this challenge, I think, in business as a whole, is how long do you hold on to an investment before it starts to become a negative return? Just to completely switch gears, service vans. You buy a service van.
Right.
How long do you hold on to it? Now it's paid off. Man, this is great. I don't have a payment. Things are amazing. Now I got to start putting high dollars in for repairs, and so I just dropped $2,000 for transmission repair. So now I got to run that truck another year to get my return
Another
back.
100,000 kilometers.
Boom,
It's like 60,000 miles. Sorry, guys.
Sure.
something.
Thank you.
And then the next big repair. Now the air conditioning goes out. Oh,
Right.
I got a $1,200 repair. Well, now I got to keep running it to get that investment back. And that at a point you get two of those bad those high dollar repairs back to back, and now I've sunk a lot of dollars into something that I'm not going to be able to get my return out of. But we hold on to it because we think it's going to get better at some point.
It's that emotional side of it, right?
Yeah.
And that's
the thing that you're talking about or that's what I'm hearing when you're talking about. Okay, do we toe this line with this tariff issue, these price increases, or do we make a shift now? It could get better. It could just be this little short-term pause, or it could get exponentially worse.
realistically, the next 4 years could be more of this, right? And
Yeah.
I think everything I've learned over the last, 80 days or however long it's been is there's some uncertainty here.
Right.
There's,
we
there's
did.
not a lot of consistency. The only thing that's consistent is the uncertainty.
Sure.
And then being prepared for that uncertainty is part of what I'm kind of dealing with.
Yeah.
And we're just the after effects.
Yeah.
So if I am a specialist and I want to pivot a little bit and break into a new product line, what sort of tips would you have for me?
If you are a specialist and you want to
If I'm a specialist, if I'm the Jeep dealer and I
Mm-hmm.
want to expand and start selling Hondas, what tips would you give me?
that's a good question.
Did you have an answer to your own question, or you want to just throw it
Actually
us?
did.
Okay, well let's hear it. Start with it.
I think you need to. So back to your key analogy.
Yeah.
I think you need to make sure you have somebody own that, and make sure that they. So let's go actually back to the chef analogy. I like that one. So I own a seafood restaurant, and
Well, you do.
and I'm a seafood chef. No, I am not at
Yeah,
all.
but you
I
do
will
own
never own a restaurant.
you do
I'm
own a liquor store.
terrible cookie. No, I don't.
Speaking of being a specialist, we are assured security,
Yes.
locksmith, and liquor store.
I do not. My father does. for
Okay,
now.
sorry. Keep going.
Anyways, I did. Actually, that's a good story. I didn't want to own a
Oh.
liquor store because I wanted to specialize in locks.
That sounds risky.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't want to diversify.
Sounds
Anyways,
risky.
so
Didn't want
if
to
I own a seafood restaurant and I want to expand a little bit, and I don't want to start another seafood restaurant, and I haven't, but I want to get into steaks, I am going to find a chef and have them specialize in steaks for me. So I would make sure that you have somebody that can own that new specialty,
Yeah.
rather than having everybody do everything. Put somebody in charge of
And why
that
is that?
one thing, so they can focus. So if your business isn't going to focus on one thing, make sure
Right.
you have one person in charge of focusing on that one thing, so you cannot. You don't want to lose quality, and you want your attention as a business owner to not be spread too thin.
What would you say to somebody that was concerned that if I have one person that's become a specialist in this one category, and then they build their own book of business and then they take it?
That person is paranoid.
Oh, good answer.
I mean, you make sure that you're doing proper training, and that specialist should be, if they're a good
Yeah.
manager, they should be training other people. And
Yeah.
I mean,
Sorry, who's the? Careful how I phrase this. Who's the virgin guy? Bronson.
Richard Branson.
Branson.
Yes.
Yes.
There you go. Right, and that's see.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's when we talk about I think his famous line, arguably his most famous, is if you're worried about training this person and having them
Yes.
leave and
Yes.
pull off, and the opposite's way worse. So you don't train them and they stay.
Right.
Right. So that is a bit of a calculated risk, I think. But I'm going to go to an experience exactly what you're talking about. A hot topic in our industry right now is multifamily.
Right.
Oh,
We just went to ISC West. We've been to the Brevo Summit in Texas. We've been to the Asa Abloy 2X conferences. Consistently in our industry, we hear everywhere, oh, multifamily, it's the new thing, it's the next thing.
Right.
Okay? So if you were going to dive into that, how might you approach it?
Well,
Right.
you recently did this, so you can tell us this.
No, it's
We're good at asking questions we all know the
Yeah,
answers
let me
to.
ask myself this.
let me just throw that
Great
out there.
question.
For instance, something that So what I have learned. First of all, I had the conversation with. So this is answering your question, Tom. But I had the conversation with my sales team and said, "Hey, so if we get into multifamily, And we get into, first of all, I'm going to pick a platform. Okay, so we picked the Brevo multifamily platform. Reasons I'm not going to get into, but that was the one we decided.
Yep.
Okay. Now, it's not cutting holes in doors. It's not making sure it locks. It's not related to that. This is Z-Wave. This is technology. This is more of a, an ecosystem. Okay. So I talked to my sales team and said, do you guys who are generally speaking, they're generalists, said, do you guys want to learn this stuff and add to your scope, or do you think this is a better idea to bring someone in specifically for this? And, after talking with them, they're like, yeah, we should probably just have somebody else focus on this. So that's what I did. I went out. I didn't really push the envelope so much as waited for the right opportunity and found someone I thought would be a good fit for what we're looking for. Those characteristics, autonomous, outgoing, young, fairly tech savvy, and found someone that fit that mold. That's all they do.
Yep.
And that's all they're focused on, and that's the handful of products. That is all that this young lady is going to do.
Sure.
Yep.
And it's been a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, her onboarding has probably been, weeks.
Yeah.
Versus months or years for a generalist.
Sure.
Like to have our locksmith solutions guys, they're all 10 years in.
Right.
And they're still kind of learning. But when you take that specialized focus, which we're doing, we're talking weeks instead of years.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely increases the amount of time to market because we've seen that in our world of sales with getting an end user sales rep that's just focusing on certain verticals, and it takes time, but that time is shortened because it's only focused on specific verticals, and they're all typically talking about the same challenges. They're looking for the same type of solutions, and so there's a repetition that breeds very quickly. So, but if that, it's a really good example. If that sales rep is responsible for every vertical and every product line and everything that you offer, they're gonna struggle getting traction because today they're going to be talking to a hospital system. Tomorrow they're going to be talking to a commercial property manager and different solutions. And so it just takes more time to get that return on the actions that they're focused on.
To answer your question, Chad, about how do I know that she's not going to leave?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
My belief on this has always been the same. If somebody wants to leave, it's because I haven't provided a good enough opportunity to make them stay.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of the company's responsibility. I think it's part of my responsibility to give a good enough opportunity that, why would you want to leave?
Well, going back to your Richard Branch analogy, I mean, my immediate answer was you're paranoid. Really, you're focused on the wrong thing if you're worried about them leaving. You should be focused on providing a good environment for them. You should be focused on treating them well. And if they leave, they leave. But if you use that as your only reason, you're going to get stuck.
I agree. I think the reason that I asked that question is because it's happened a lot. Like there's been a lot of those conversations that have happened. What about this? Like what about when this goes sideways? And I think to your points, it's as a business owner, at some point you have to reshift your attention from being a generalist and being the expert in every product and every solution that you offer as a company into being an expert and a specialist in developing a good culture, providing growth opportunities, great compensation, being
if
profitable.
That's what you're good at.
So
correct. Yes,
absolutely.
But when that individual, if it's you as the business owner or whoever that you put in charge of that, a general manager or whatever, that's their ultimate responsibility. It's not to be the product expert,
right?
It's to be the business expert, and then you're providing great opportunities, retirement benefits, all these things. Then it can be more comforting for somebody that is a specialist,
right?
and can go really deep focused in that area because they know that all the other stuff is taken care of for them.
So if I am a business that has 5, 10 employees and I'm a generalist right now and I want to become a specialist, what tips would you have for me?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would assess all the different categories. So like I get pretty high level on my category. So like for us, it's locks, doors, cameras, key card systems would be kind of those big four. And then I would just kind of create a column and say, okay, on the lock side, what are the different brands that we're focused on from a hardware perspective? What are the different key systems that we're focused on? I'll go to doors and like door hardware and do the same thing, key card systems, and list all of those products out. Then from there, I would say, one, what are we most excited about? What do we think that we're great at as criteria one?
So what you're good at currently.
Correct. What do we believe that we're the most excited about? What are we the best at doing?
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and we've done this on the customer side as well. We did these categories and we said, well, we feel like we really work well and we provide a good solution for commercial property managers.
You have a look at your customer mix right now.
Yeah.
You can figure it out pretty quick.
And so you go hardcore in that because we already have a rhythm to be able to serve these people well. Why do we need to reinvent that part?
Right.
So look at the products and then figure out what I'm excited about, what we're good at. And then second tier would be what's the most profitable. So if you're really good at it and you can't make money on it, then you either got to retool that or what. But you know, and I wouldn't pick what's the most profitable and do we want to be good at it. I would really focus on what are we good at, and then can it be profitable or is it profitable? And then from there, start to list out the things that you've got to get rid of. Okay. Because I think the challenge that most people are going to look at is here's the 100 things that we do, and I make $1 here, $1 here, $1 here, $1 here. Well, over here I make $2. Well, how can you get more of the $2 thing and get rid of a few of the $1 things? And the more that you do that, and you're not going to be able to just wipe the slate clean immediately, but I think the more you do that, the more systematically you're going to be able to grow the thing that you make the more money on and that you're the best at, where it will become more profitable because you're going to be able to do it faster and better. And then that's how you basically stage from becoming a generalist into a specialist. Now you've got the few things that you want to focus on.
And you know, there's 3 names that come to mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so Control Key Systems in Irvine, California.
Yes.
It's Matt Wodinsky, Alexis Wodinsky. You know, it's a family business. Large mechanical key systems.
Yeah.
That's what they
Tremendous
were built
specialist.
on.
Yes.
Very cool niche. They do some really proprietary, cool stuff. Very successful. Awesome. Think of The Machine.
Yep.
Alan Ponte, Phil and Sons and Daughter and Sons. They... What's the acronym for that one? PES. Anyway.
Oh, no.
But, you know, Alan, they sell, this is it. This is the platform. Super successful.
Yep.
Been very good, you know, And then I look at even Ann.
Yeah.
Like AFG, Ann Gruber, where she's in Indiana somewhere.
Chicago.
No, Chicago.
That's Illinois.
It's in whatever. It's
I
like,
I love these series when Lars starts to do American geography.
Yeah, it's... We should have a whole class on that for him.
Chicago's in Illinois. All right.
He probably thinks that's West Coast.
Is that a state?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's over there near California.
And
somewhere.
if you tell me this is the Midwest and it's an absolutely dead center of the continent,
that's a whole different conversation about people that classify Midwest.
You lunatics in your Midwest crowd.
Correct.
Anyway, but those are 3 companies and 3 friends that, you know, have really specialized. Like, whereas Alan sells the platform. The Wodinskis, you know, they're large commercial master key systems.
Yeah.
And does what's profitable.
Yeah.
That's her niche. You know, like if this doesn't meet her threshold, we're not doing
Not touching it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it inhibits the scale early on.
Yes.
But what it does do is creates a niche and a specialization for them where going forward, if somebody is looking for that niche that they are looking for, they are the solution.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right. And that just attracts further business for that niche.
If I was a generalist, first of all, read The Pumpkin Plan by Mike Michalowicz. Really good book
Big
about...
pumpkin plan guy today, too.
It is. It's a great book.
Nice pumpkin.
Really good book about just, you know...
It's one of the best
selling...
pumpkins. Biggest pumpkins.
You've read the book, right?
I wrote the book on pumpkins.
No, seriously, people say I have the best pumpkins. Nobody has had better pumpkins than I have
Anyways.
pumpkins.
So pumpkin. Sorry, Tone.
It is a great book. Read the
It
book.
is.
It's a
It
great
is.
book.
I
It's
just-
all about owning your niche, whatever you want to call it.
Some say.
Second of all,
That's what they say. I don't know. That's what they say.
One of the greatest pumpkin plan niche books ever written.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Go ahead.
All right.
It's probably sold more pumpkin plan books than anybody ever. They say. I don't know.
Were you trying to say something, Tone?
I was. It's amazing that I
sorry.
still know what I'm going to say. But,
Okay, sorry.
Also, shift your mindset to be intentional. I think a lot of locksmiths are very reactionary. It's a service-based industry. Phone rings. I'm going to respond to that, and I'm going to do what the customer asks.
Yeah.
Shift your mindset to be intentional. You probably have to be a little bit more sales-focused. One of the biggest differences I noticed from the MSC conference or old MSC conference to the Brevo conferences. People that are selling Brevo and Eagle Eye are very intentional about what they're going to sell. They have a sales team. They're focused. We are going to sell these products to these people, and it's very intentional. Where locksmiths generally are, we are going to wait for the phone to ring, and that's exaggerating a bit, but we are going to wait for the phone to ring. What does the customer want, and I'm going to give it to you. So if you want to be specialized, you have to shift your mindset to being very intentional. Typically have a sales strategy, sales team around that, where if you want to be a generalist, it's a little bit easier to be a generalist, but it is...
Yeah.
I would say far more. There's a lot of advantages to being a specialist.
The other thing that I would add is
Two things.
Being a specialist has an ability to charge a higher premium if you are a really good specialist.
And if you're an expert.
Yes. It's interesting watching different brands just in the consumer marketplace that sell. A lot of people sell the same type of things. So, let's just say, goods from a handbag perspective. You can literally, if you look in the marketplace, you can go get a handbag that is $60, or you can get a handbag that is $60,000.
Right. And they both carry something, right?
They both
Okay.
They both do the same thing. The process by which you go about getting those things are completely different. And if you look at these like exclusive brands that sell those higher end handbags, they're not focused on volume. They're focused on experience and excellence and quality. And so they will sell 5 handbags to the guy down the street that sells 500, more profitable, better experience, just overall different scenario. And so they're focused on different things. At the end of the day, they're focused on trying to sell something and move something.
Right.
But one is a specialist. We only sell this thing this way. Like we're not out there trying to sell also trying to sell tennis shoes and flowers.
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake, right? Where the guy down the street that's selling the $50 bags, he's also got cameras and umbrellas and anything and everything that he can sell because he's trying to move volume.
Right.
And I think if we look at it from our perspective as companies, what are the things that we want to be really good at, that you can charge a premium for, that you can make money on, and then provide an excellent experience? And I talk to our team about this a lot. You go to a Mercedes dealership, people that buy Mercedes are going there because they want a quality car with an amazing experience.
Right.
If you need a car, you can also go to CarMax.
Yep.
You can also go get a Ford or whatever, right? You are going to get 2 totally different experiences. You're going to get on the road either way.
Right.
But the experience during purchase and the experience during service down the road is completely different. What do we want to be?
Right. I think that's a really good takeaway.
Yeah, that's pretty insightful. I don't know who you learned that from, Chad. Obviously not your own, but probably stole it from a book, I would think. I think, I'm not sure where we're at for time here, but...
There is a giant clock on the wall right in front of you.
Well, I can see it's that time, but I don't know how long we've been sitting here for.
It's not
Tone.
a countdown clock.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think, Tony, you were saying if you had 5 to 10 people, what would be my focus?
If you wanted to specialize, if you were a generalist of 5 to 10 and you wanted to specialize, what would you do next?
Yeah. So I think a good majority of people that are probably listening to this are going to be that traditional locksmith company.
Yes.
If you're 5 to 10 people, you're probably cutting keys, you're probably pinning locks and doing that thing. I personally don't think we are in danger of keys and locks, mechanical stuff going away. I think we are generations from that. It might be 20, 30 years. Might be longer than that. I don't know. But I don't think that's going away. However, I would think convenience is more and more going to drive decision-making and purchasing power. Convenience is driven by access control, which is fob things that go beep and the door opens, right? And I would align myself, and what we are doing is aligning ourselves with companies that are on that cutting edge, that are technology, making things simple. So I know, Chad, you love plug-in brands here, but I'm just going to talk about Brevo and Eagle Eye, right? Because their integration is so simple. That's why we chose them, because it's convenient, one username, one spot, one platform.
Yeah.
So that's what I would look at. Is I would have a look at all of the brands that are out there. Well, all the brands. Take a handful of brands that are out there and figure out which one is going to be easiest for the customers, easiest to service. And I would start with convenience. It has to be easy.
No.
Then figure out the rest.
Yeah.
I would tag on to that with the focusing on the simplifying the sales process and the implementation process. I think one of the things, if you were to look back historically, the challenge for most locksmith and security companies to sell and install those types of systems is we overcomplicate the implementation side for the customer.
Yep.
Well, I mean, we're going to get this done, but you're going to have to do this, and you're going to have to do that, and you're going to need this. Figure out all of the things that you would have to list out that you are going to create exclusions on to make it complicated for the customer, and figure out how you can wrap it into your offering. Even if it's people that you have to subcontract or whatever, just the customer, when you're talking to a commercial property manager, you're talking to somebody that's wanting to get this solution installed, they don't want to be the expert on how this is going. They don't want to project manage it.
That's why they hire us.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
And we're really good at telling people the things that we're not
you're
going to
need an electrician for that.
Correct.
Oh, you're going to need the glass guy for that.
And I'm not saying that you should be an electrician. I'm saying get us a good electrician that you can subcontract, bring them in and just say, yes, we handle everything. Here's the total process.
That's the secret.
And
that is the secret in our industry.
Yep.
Be that what I teach our team, this is going to sound like a generalist. We say yes to everything. That doesn't mean we do everything.
Correct. Yeah.
That means
we'll take care of it.
Every single time I talk about my cousin Chris is the same. I don't know, it must be a genetic thing, but I'm a professional middleman. You can ask me anything about anything. I'll look you in the eyes and lie for one.
Whoa.
And
is that on recording? Right there.
I was going to say that's
we all knew that. You finally admitted it.
Joke. But I'll say
There's
yes
truth behind every joke,
and then I'll figure out who can help.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. If somebody calls us right now and says, "Oh, hey, we need a key for this car," we don't do that. But I say, yeah, I can help you with that.
Yes.
That is the answer from our customer service team every time. Yeah, I can help you with that. And here's who we can call.
Yeah.
Here,
Okay.
I'll even put you through to them.
Yeah.
Like we don't do automotive on the road.
Correct.
So we actually we will transfer a customer to another company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And say,
So
here you go.
You specialize in customer service.
We are the knowledge source for security solutions. We can help you.
And I would second that. We've been transferring calls to an outside vendor for automotive for years because we want to be the first call.
Exactly.
Let's give us the first right of refusal, and we can get you back to the right company for the things that we don't do. We're going to just transfer you over there. You at least calling our number, and then we're not going to make $1 off of it, but we're going We're going to get you because we want to be the first right of refusal. So it's focusing on those types of things. There was something else that I was going to add to that, but I can't remember what it was. But we probably should get to whatever our next topic is.
Ooh.
Oh,
Next
you want to
topic.
land the plane?
Wow.
All right.
Alrighty, we're going to land on the plane.
Well, I mean, somebody did schedule all of this on Masters Sunday. And,
That is true.
Yeah, that's
So-
true. First of all, I wanted to give Lars a shout out. Your hair's looking great today.
I'm telling you, you both look very
Yeah.
sharp today.
You know,
Well, is there a story behind that great haircut?
well, all three of us got all cleaned up. We've got our matching swag,
Yep.
our grout fits, which
Wow, we look nice.
boy.
He's got the.
which I'm going to
grout
point
fit.
out isn't a thing,
Yes.
a
Okay.
grout fit. But we fly to North Carolina, and the first thing we do is we get in Chad's Tesla and go to his barber,
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean,
which is different from a hairstylist, I might add.
She
it's
was
a
great.
bummer.
She
Yeah.
was great. Riley
Riley.
from
Yeah.
RC Cuts.
Yep. So the thing is that we really we take pride on making sure that we look sharp, and so that's why I want to make sure you guys are all trimmed up as soon as you get here.
Yep.
So I have to look at your shagginess.
Oh, so it's really self-serving. That tracks. That makes much more sense.
Yeah. Let's dial this back to what's important here, Chad. Yeah.
But yeah, you both look sharp.
Yeah. We got
Fresh cuts, fresh clothes.
Tony got us some clothing. It's looking sharp. Riley's got the hair cut up nicely. I mean, this is as good as it gets for
Yeah.
us.
We're in the studio. I mean, it's
are.
it's a big day.
And more importantly is we got to wrap this up because we got to play golf here right away.
All right. So next topic. Thanks to a listener from Australia that actually reached out. I think his name
Are
was.
you just making this stuff up
No,
now?
no.
the
I
name drop.
believe his name was Brian. Thank you. Is that right?
It comes from a land down under.
You're asking me.
Well, you sent it to me.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyways, I believe it was Brian.
Oh yeah, I did.
Automotive.
Okay, sorry.
Automotive locksmith just got in the industry.
Yes. So he asked basically if I'm just getting started, what are the first things I
He
should do?
came to the
So-
fountain of
yes,
knowledge.
So next topic is going to be the first 5 things you should do to help grow your business if you're a smaller,
I got you,
under
Brad.
5 employees.
And is that 5 from each of us or 5 collectively?
We're going to start with 5 and we'll see where it goes.
Oh, okay.
First 5 things to do to grow your business.
First 5 things to grow your business in the security industry, or are we just going across the board here?
Security industry.
Security industry.
And specifically if you're under 5 employees.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because Brian is in Australia, he'll
First
be
5,
listening to this
yes.
yesterday or tomorrow?
Doesn't matter. First 5 for people with under 5.
First 5 things. Okay.
First 5 for people with under 5.
Perfect.
Yes.
Well, I think it's going to be a fun topic. That episode, we will all be back into our homeland.
Maybe.
I'll just shift over to this
Yeah.
desk behind us. But it's been great having you guys in the studio today. And thank you guys for watching and listening, those of you who do on a regular basis. And really, a big shout out to everybody that contacts us. We get weekly emails from Glenn letting us know.
Yep.
Uncle Glenn, Nicole.
Nicole, yep.
Nicole reached out. My buddy Cam sends me a text almost every week.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to hear from the folks that are listening to it. The purpose that we started this was just to capture these types of conversations because, like, even today, the conversation that we've had today is been conversations that we've collectively had through text message and phone calls and whatever for years. And so we're just trying to capture it on this type of medium so that we can share it out and hopefully give you some insights, maybe some tips, some things to do or some things to avoid. So that's what we're...
Or the latter.
Yeah. Or what we're here for. All the mistakes that we've made, you can avoid them faster. So if you want to connect with us further, you can go to our website. It's unlockedpodcast.com. Maybe by the time this episode airs, we'll have our swag store up where you can
get yourself a shirt.
get a shirt, get a mug. We've got mugs, shirts, and that's
Attaboy.
that's it, and microphones. And so thank you for Tony. Good job on that, by the way.
Yeah, the shirts look good, Tone.
Thank you, Sue. Sue really.
Shout out to Sue and Lauren. Lauren took the logo and made it work
good.
on a
Those,
shirt. And
those that are listening to this driving down the road, Tony is holding T-shirts up
Yes.
right now on camera. So you can go to our YouTube page and check that out. Website's unlockedpodcast.com. New episodes most every Thursday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern
Unless
Time.
Chad is golfing.
Unless I forgot to post it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you next time here on the Unlocked Podcast.